And welcome back to The Right Balance. Greg Allen here. And I think for the first time in the history of my broadcasting career, we're going to be speaking to someone live from India, a gentleman who I have a tremendous amount of respect for. He's one of the really great Republicans out there from the beautiful state of Michigan, Congressman Thad McCotter. Thad, welcome back to the show. How are things in India?
Well, it's the first time in my life I've ever been in India, and I have noticed one thing. I picked up a hankering for Raga Rock at this point.
Yes, and I like Bollywood a lot, too. Now,
they still have some Harrison records.
As it relates to your recent trip to Iraq, can you just give us an update on what you've seen and heard when you were there?
Well, we went, it was Kodal Ackerman from New York, and Gary has an incredible sense of timing because we stopped. First stop was to meet with President Mubarak, and I brought up the issue of the Coptic Christians and sectarian violence against them and how we expect our allies in the Middle East to, the governments to help protect their minorities, even when the majority is angry with them. Then we went to Afghanistan to see our troops in the field, and as you know, Afghanistan is becoming increasingly difficult. For the second month in a row, our soldiers we've lost more soldiers in Afghanistan than we have in Iraq. One of the reasons is the terrorists, or the foreign terrorists, are being told by Zawahiri and others in letters and everything else that we're getting our butts kicked in Iraq, let's go fight the infidel in Afghanistan. What they use is the tribal regions of Pakistan and work with the drug lords to destabilize them. So when we left Afghanistan, we went over to Pakistan, met with the Prime Minister and the Chief of the Army to see what we can do to help get the population to view this fight as primarily in their interest with the help to the United States, so that their own government isn't destabilized. Now we've come over to India, and we're in New Delhi at the very time that the civil nuclear agreement between the United States and India is threatening to bring down the government, and you'll love the reason. The reason is the Communist Party is threatening to leave the coalition government because it despises the U.S., wants us to have nothing to do with India, and you can do the math on that one because we also know that there's a neighboring country here full of 1 billion communist people subjugated by Communist Party of China that do not necessarily want to see the two great democracies, the two great economies of the 21st century getting very close. It's not in their interests.
Oh, Congressman.
And you and I have both, you and I, Greg, have both had the discussion. We've had people tell me there's no such things as communists. Now, we were supposed to meet with the Communist Party of India to find out why they dislike it so much, but evidently the dislike was so intense they have refused to meet us. I was going to get a picture of myself with a communist, kind of like if I had found a Yeti, and then send it to all my friends in the Republican Party who say there aren't any communists anymore to belie the myth.
Well, there are some supporters of Barack Obama who have those connections, but that's another story for another time. Congressman McCotter, there's one thing I've been talking about for years on The Right Balance, and we've spoken about it with your various visits, and I'll just be real quick and summarize, then you can take it from there. I believe that India is essential for the future of the United States and the free world. They are the world's largest democracy. I think they are a good counter to China. They now own Jaguar. They bought the car company, so on and so forth. They're becoming a major economic power. We must do everything possible to have good communications and relations with India. It makes sense.
It makes absolute sense if you look at the long sweep of the 21st century. Because we're both, and this includes Pakistan, all three of us are children, emancipated children of the British colonial system. We have much in common in our fights for independence. We have much in common with the way our governments are responsible to the people who elect them. And I think that you'll find between the U.S. and India is while we had cold relations for a while there with the non-aligned movement, is that as we head into the 21st century, India, because they, like the United States, are a free people with a democratically elected government, their people will be able to eventually, through the political process, make their aspirations felt, build up a civil society to the point where they start to eradicate some of their poverty, and we remain on a competitive basis with India as their situation of their people improves in terms of their own existence, their own material well-being. What happens then is you can see that like the old alignment of the Cold War where you had the United States, Communist China, and Communist Russia, and the United States chose to play Communist China off against Communist Russia. What you're going to see in terms of economics is the American economy, the Indian economy, and the Communist Chinese state-controlled economy are going to be the three three largest economies in the 21st century. What you want to see are the free enterprise system, the free peoples of the great democracies of the United States and India be the model of cooperation and progress for their peoples that the rest of the world emulates, rather than the communist state-run enterprises and sovereign wealth funds of the communist Chinese.
Well, also, Congressman McCotter, I think what's going on domestically in the lower 48 right now, when you look at the contribution that folks from India are making to the growth of the United States, to Silicon Valley and elsewhere, they are bringing a lot to the party known as the USA.
Yes, and it's also part of the reason that this agreement is so critical is it's a very major step forward in the relationship between the United States and India, the civil nuclear program. Remember, Pakistan and India are already nuclear-armed countries, so we're not talking about nuclear weapons here. But this is a step in a long-term relationship, an early step in the right direction of a long-term relationship that also has not only economic but strategic potential for the United States. One of the concerns, too, is, as you know about gas prices, India is a developing country. The more we can do to help preserve our environment by bringing them cleaner technologies such as nuclear power rather than coal or oil, the greater the benefit's going to be to everybody. And the sooner that we can help transfer and engage in free market innovations and green technologies, the more we can help to reduce the global demand for oil. And we will do this not with a communist country like China that steals our technology and hacks into our computers and robs us blind, but you can do that with a free people engaged in the same free enterprise system that has made the United States the greatest economic nation on earth and is leading India to come join us on the world stage of prosperity.
Well, Congressman Thad McCotter, at this point, I don't know if you can hear our music cue all the way over in India. We thank you for your visit. We look forward to speaking with you again when you're back in the States. And if you could, bring me back some tandoori chicken. I love Indian food, Indian music. Be safe. See you next week or so back in the States. Take care now, Congressman.
Happy 4th.
The same to you, and God bless America, as they say. Congressman Thad McCotter would make one heck of a good vice presidential candidate. Hint, hint. We are The Right Balance. Thanks for listening. See you live tomorrow.